and welcome back to the Project Manga Podcast, where we cover One Piece, My Hero Academia, Black Clover, Mashle, Dr. Stone, and Jujutsu Kaisen week to week. Back this week to discuss Weekly Shonen Jump issue number 44. I'm your host, Nox.
And I'm Melo Yenis.
And before we get into the conversation tonight, of course, we'd like you to take a look at the description down below. That's going to be where you're going to be able to follow us on all of our individual social media accounts like Twitter, ways that you can join our online communities such as Discord, ways that you can listen to the Project Manga Podcast wherever you normally listen to your podcasts, and ways that you can support what we do here by checking out our online store and our Patreon. And if anybody's in the market for a new top-of-the-line gaming computer, consider taking a look at Artesian Builds, our new sponsor. You can get $200 off with our promo code, which we will also throw down in the description for you as well. And while you're down there, slap a like on the video and consider subscribing if you're new here. There's also going to be timestamps down below so that you can navigate yourself through the video and skip spoilers for any of the segments that you are not yet current in. But with all that said, I think we can just jump right into coverage tonight. We have no Dr. Stone or Black Clover, so this is going to be a relatively short episode, I'm predicting. But still a lot to talk about inside of the series that are here, starting with Jujutsu Kaisen, chapter 161, Tokyo Number 1 Colony, Part 1. Now, whenever Jujutsu Kaisen, starts going into numbered parts for things, Shibuya incident, it's kind of what comes to mind. We know that we're here. You know what I'm saying?
For the long haul.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you waiting for the culling game? Well, you're going to wait for the culling game to be over. Right. So, yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, we're here now. And this was an incredible first chapter for the culling games to begin. I love how massive the subversion was, at least for me, when they came into the colony and were instantly separated. I think that the narration going into that opening scene when they jump into the colony was insane. It makes a lot of sense for the players that have already been involved before Yuji and Megumi stepped in. So just based on just the kind of series that we have where, it's a highly strategic, highly, combat intellectual, kind of series, that there would be something, like this set up for the newbies who are disoriented when the game starts. So this was a really great, exciting and cool way to kind of start things off.
Oh yeah, I really liked this episode of Jujutsu Kaisen, mostly because we're getting to see more modern curse techniques.
Yes,
especially in this, and this kind of answers one of the questions that we had a while ago, or how is people like Yuji or people that Kenjaku is tampered with are somehow, how are they going to be forced to be in the culling game? And that's not the case. Kenjaku is basically played it out so that if Yuji wants to help Gojo, he has to participate. Right. So it's nice to see that kind of there's agency for the players, which I quite like. And I like that the way these other players are approaching it. I like that they're waiting and just kind of scum camping the newbies that are just hey, I know that they're gonna spawn from one of these 9 places.
Yes,
I'm gonna get them while they're falling. Shoot them out of the air. Let's go.
Yes. Now I wonder if because they're obviously just kind of focusing on this one area for the moment, but I wonder if these individuals that were kind of waiting for Yuji to fall and attacked Yuji when he did get into the zone, I wonder if this is something where they just stay in one spot because they know that this is an area where they come and then they just do their thing in this one area, or do they kind of chill in one zone? Do they have other areas where people are teleported in, kind of mapped out, and they just go from spot to spot trying this to see what all the best locations are? It seems to be this particular group might not be around for too much longer based on kind of how the beginning of this starts. but I'm wondering if all of the assailants kind of just stay in their area, or if it is going to be a little bit more chaotic in regards to where people are going to be fighting and how much traveling is going to be happening during the fighting inside of this colony. So just a little question that kind of came up while I was reading it.
It reminds me very much of like a Hunter x Hunter thing,
Hmm.
like Greed Island, especially where they're just like, okay, are we going to camp these spots or are we going to, roam? And
Oh yeah, there was a
like,
spawn camper in Greed Island too. I completely forgot about
yeah,
that.
there's totally a spawn camper, but there's always going to be those like solo players, so to
Yeah,
speak, that love just fucking off, doing their own thing, and like just chilling.
yeah,
Um, and like I really enjoy the character designs. Like I've always enjoyed like the fantasy of having super long hair that you can control and it's like prehensile,
yeah,
but having it shape shift into like a flying thing
yeah.
is amazing. And like I like her like outfit. It's very like
Very Sarah
almost like,
Connor, very
yeah,
Terminator
very,
2. Yeah,
yes,
that's
it's
what I
almost
was
like
thinking.
Sarah Connor military junta
Yeah.
kind of like streetwear
Hmm.
clothing. I based on the length of her hair and like how the ends kind of split, it almost looks like dreads to me,
Oh, sure.
like the way it is. But then when I
Yeah.
like look at the hair up close on page two,
Hmm.
it definitely doesn't have that vibe. But like maybe that's just because those fibers are all, fused together.
Sure.
Um,
I could totally see what you're saying though, especially in Gege style. Yeah, like if you go to like
mhm.
page
Like page
like page
one.
12 or oh, sure, sure.
Like page one, if you zoom up to her when she's
Oh,
first
yeah,
introduced,
page
I was
1
like
especially.
just at the tip underneath the frame of that
Yes.
first panel, it's just like, okay, man, like it just reminded me of early 2000s girls with like the dreads and like the little beads at the tips.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh and then I thought it was really interesting that like it takes the form of a jet. She's just going for like that mock tackle. Um,
Yeah.
And then the dude, her partner, he's like, "What you do to my woman?" His hair just made me bust out laughing.
Nah,
Like I
because
was
I'm
like,
pretty
"Wait,
sure we know this dude, don't we?
do we?"
Man, I don't know. He looks like so familiar to me, and for some
He kind
reason,
of reminds me of the sorcerer during the early Shibuya arc. That his whole thing was that he could do hard soft and like negate hard impacts.
you mean
He reminds me of
inversion?
that guy. Yeah, he
Oh,
reminds me of
yeah.
the inversion guy with the big old mustache and the round head.
Does he?
Uh, he
Okay.
kind of reminds me of that. But I don't think I've seen him before.
Yeah, because I
Um,
think he recognizes Yuji is the only reason why. I want
um,
to say that we've seen him already. Because he even says
oh,
Itadori quite. No, this is the dude who tried to save Nobara at the end of Shibuya that came with Toto, right? No.
oh, the kid? No, I think he's
No, no, no.
actually.
That
No. Oh,
can't be
you're
it.
talking about that kid in the first page.
Yeah, the
But
one who's like, yeah, the one who. Oh, you're
who's
talking about the other hair spinning
I'm
top
I'm
dude.
I'm talking about helicopter guy.
Helicopter
Uh,
head guy. Yeah, yeah. No,
yeah,
no, no. I'm
yeah,
talking about the guy with like the waving like airport
yeah, the
signals.
little,
Yeah.
yes, he definitely has the airport signals. He looks young. He's probably Itadori's age. He recognizes him. I think he's from his school.
Yeah, something like that,
I
man.
straight up think he's from his school, and he's, you know what, and he seems like he's being bullied around. So I hope he's one of the category of people that is like, um, hey, you're outside the zone. Oh man, I need to go for like my wallet and like everything else and my phone and everything. I don't have
Yeah.
anything. I'm not gonna survive 3 days out here, basically homeless. Um,
Yeah, nah, dude, this is definitely Arata Nita.
uh,
He like
his
has like he had like the hand signals and that like stop your damage. Remember when like Nobara blew her face off fighting Mahito, and then she was like dying, and then Toto was like help her out, and then he like did his curse technique which literally just stops her, your damage where it's at, stops it from getting worse, and kind of put her in like
oh,
a. I swear that's who that is, but
his name, they name drop him earlier.
oh, did
Amai.
they okay,
Yeah.
okay, hold on.
Amai. I'm waiting for the signal. First panel.
Oh, Amai. Oh wait, no, he's calling her Amai. So, oh wait,
No,
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 she's
she's
talking to
saying,
him.
"Hey, Amai,
Oh,
I'm waiting for the
never
signal."
mind
So
then.
I Google searched up that and like see if any like the Jujutsu wikis had it, and it gave me like a bunch of different characters that had similar
Yeah.
names, and I was like, well, he's not a main character or
Okay,
like a supporting character, so I definitely feel like he is from the school because if he's in Tokyo 1, uh he might be living close to like the cult club, right? Like in the same
sure.
school district, because like people in the school districts live in a similar area. So I
Yeah.
think that I genuinely think he's just the school kid that got caught up in this
Yeah, and
and
even if
doesn't really
he's
have any powers.
yeah,
Like
even if he's not from
he's
this,
doing he's
yeah.
doing scut work. He's doing
Yeah, he
scut
is
work.
doing
Hey,
scout work.
wave the thing. I'll beat
Yeah.
you up if you don't if you're talking back to me. He's like they're like he's like, are you talking back to me? And he's just like, what do I do if no one shows up? Like,
Yeah.
it's a logical thing. It
Yeah.
makes sense. And
Hmm.
she's like, hey, none of
Hmm.
that. I don't
Hmm.
want no back ass.
None of that. But no, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he could recognize him just because Itadori is just kind of
Is
known now. Yeah.
yeah.
Like just
It's
in
it's
general.
it's tricky because I'm like, I genuinely don't recognize this guy.
I thought I
Um,
did, but I just
young
have
guy.
no idea what I'm
Um,
talking about.
but one thing I noticed about him is that he's wearing like a yarmulke. If you like, at first I thought it was just like when you first see Amai's head,
Hmm.
there's a little spot on the top, and I was like, oh, maybe that's the building. And then I look at the bottom panel on page one,
Hmm.
and it's definitely a small like skull cap.
Right.
So he might actually be a sorcerer.
Yeah, yeah, and it's probably another hair related ability. You know what I mean? Like I don't
Oh,
know.
dude. He
Yeah.
just shoes it and like it's just bald, like and like,
Yeah.
it's just bald and like a kappa comes out or something. I was like, I don't
Hey
know.
yo. But no, I think it's pretty safe to assume that a lot of these characters probably have. I mean, like we know two of them definitely have hair related abilities. This dude's got like, a hat on, which is probably concealing something curse technique related, or maybe it's just a part of his design. We don't know. But then we go over
Mhm.
to like Megumi's scene, and then we have this lady here who clearly has a scorpion shaped hair tail.
Remy, yeah, there's
Yeah,
so
you know what
many
I mean?
hair
So
related abilities. What's up with
right.
that?
So I don't know. I don't know. And maybe we could know by now like what it is, and maybe that like a subtle hint was dropped towards it somewhere earlier in the series. I can't remember it right now, but I love the character of Remy since we're here. I think that like this kind of like faux damsel in distress slash femme fatale type is like really
Oh
cool.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
like lead you into a false sense of security and fuck you up type characters really lean into that. You know, that just general idea, that women are weak, like play into it and then get what you need
mhm,
from the person you're tricking. Like I totally love that archetype. So I
yeah.
instantly liked this chick.
I like how Megumi is just not playing
Not
any
playing
games.
any games with her either. This is a different Megumi. I swear to God, Koen game Megumi stocks are different than any other Megumi. I promise you.
Dude, I was telling you earlier after they were talking to like Fight Club guy,
Hmm.
Hikari, that they were colder, right? Like they were tougher, they were colder, they'd been hardened by the
Right.
Shibuya incident. And I
That's
was
right.
really excited to see how they interacted because like they were cool to Hikari,
Yeah.
but like they needed him for something.
Right.
These are people that they do not need anything from.
Right.
And I want to see it. They're like, hey man, quit attacking me. You're gonna keep attacking me? I'm gonna fucking break all your arms.
Well, there was
I'll
a
shave your head. I don't know, man.
oh
Like,
no, not that. Oh God, what if that's a threat?
dude, I
Oh
mean,
shit.
all these hair-based abilities,
I
that's totally
know.
a threat.
Yeah.
They call me the Clipper.
Oh man. It's like he's got a sword in hand. Could
Oh,
do a lot
jeez,
with
that's the
that.
Clipper.
But no,
Uh,
there's also this conversation that I was having in one of my group chats on Twitter about the potential of Remy having a curse technique related to, maybe not related to like anything specifically, but like this panel on page 18 where she's like, "Will you be my knight?" and it's in like quotation marks,
yeah.
as she like looks super cute at Megumi. If you look in pages previous, pretty much any other panel with her eyes are just not colored in, and there's a lot of zoom ins to like a lot of close ups to let you know, like especially on page 17, you get right up in her right eye, so we know that it's not a distance thing. Her eyes are just naturally light colored, and then you turn the page, onto the "Will you be my knight" panel, which is also
Gold doe
technical.
eyes.
Yeah, it's also like a close up, you know what I mean? And this could just be like a visual thing to make her look, more adorable or something like that.
Yeah.
But we know that, Akutami Gege has given us subtle visual storytelling that represents curse technique applications or activations. You know what I mean? Like referencing back to Shigemo Haruta, the hand sword individual from the Shibuya incident, that kind of like fought Nobara for a little bit and then like Sukuna killed him after the Maharaga stuff. He had like
Mhm.
the face tattoos. You know what I mean? You remember that guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then his we didn't know what his technique was, until it got legitimately explained to us during the Maharaga stuff or after the Maharaga stuff. And we found out that like his lives or whatever were like kind of
Yeah.
like represented by his facial tattoos. And when he got his ass whooped by Nanami, those
I
facial
know.
tattoos kind of like started to like lose their coloring, you know what I mean, to
Mhm. Yeah, they
represent that he was,
drain.
yeah, like kind of like, Zelda hearts or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like we've seen shit like that before in Jujutsu Kaisen, so I don't want to put it past Gege that they could potentially be showing,
I
a technique in some kind of subtle way with this visual
I
situation
think
here.
you're absolutely right about that.
Yeah.
And I think because like even it's like stop calling me you, quote, call me Remy. And so it's like, um, and he's like, I will if you're telling the truth. Listen, if you're lying, you know what'll happen, right? And she gets the most real facial expression on that last page at 19.
Are you kidding me? I'm
Dude,
Remy.
that's the she's like, "Oh, yeah." She's like, "Oh, you're not trusting. I'm gonna have fun with you." And the thing is,
Something
I
like
think
that,
I think her ability is literally keyed to trust.
yeah.
If you
Sure.
trust like a scorpion, right? Like the
Yeah.
frog, like the story of the frog and the scorpion. It
Yes.
rides on its back and it trusts the scorpion, and the scorpion stabs it, and the frog's like, "Why'd you do this? We're both." The scorpion's like, "It's in my nature."
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
So I think her ability is like based off trust, where she can do more potent damage or perhaps like a cursed poison,
Mm.
based on trust.
Yeah,
So if you trust her, because she's always trying to be like, "Hey, you got to protect me. You should go up front. I know where these people are." Like she's just like saying all these things. None of it may be true,
right.
and like I think I definitely think it's about trust and like playing mind games a little
Yeah.
bit.
And I think it would be cool if she had
Her
a
ability.
poison, kind of a poison situation inside of her curse technique. Because I don't know of too many times we've seen poison in Jujutsu Kaisen. I know that, they said that Sukuna had like a high resistance to poison or
Mm,
something like that. And then you also had like Junpei with his like jellyfish stuff, moon dregs or whatever. I don't know if that was poison directly or if it was more like a neurotoxin. But
yeah.
like either way, like this stuff is pretty rare in Jujutsu Kaisen, I want to
Yeah.
say. So that would be
The only
sick.
times that it happened other than those instances were the cursed death paintings. Um, when the first three were introduced, talking about like their brother, because he'd do the butterfly wings, and then like our blood is toxic,
Oh
and
yeah,
it'll
that's
literally
totally
cause you to
right.
rot from the inside out. And like
Yeah,
other than that, very little
yeah,
poison has actually been influenced in the series.
yeah, you're
So I
totally
think it's
right.
time for that. Um, I read scans, I read officials. I think that like I liked the language a little better in the scans,
Sure.
with Remy, because they're just like, because one of her things is like, do you know a sorcerer named Higuruma? And one of the scans is like, oh, you think you're tough? It's like you think you're tough because it's like you think you're tough. You think I'm just gonna answer because you're a man, and
Oh,
like,
dude, I totally remember this in the scan. Yeah, he's
and
like
then she's like,
typical
just
man,
answer.
thinking that a woman will just submit to whatever they say just because you rough me up a little bit or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, just,
Yeah,
like, trying to, like, dig for some shame,
yeah,
and, like, I love that because
yeah,
I love that kind of, like, that sort of, like, mind game femme
yeah,
fatale stuff where it's just,
yes,
like, it's playing on social conventions
right,
and all that stuff. Being able to, like, profit and weaponize one's womanhood,
yeah.
is, I think, really positive. I
Yeah,
mean,
and
it's not a great thing, but
it brings a little bit more reality to the conversation too.
exactly.
Yeah,
It's not like, "Oh, hey, you should weaponize whatever." I'm like, "No, no,
yeah,
no, no, no. I don't condone that." Like, but like I like to see it in characters because
right.
it is interesting. Um,
I
and then
completely
she
forgot about that. Yeah, I read the scan so early, and I remember thinking like, "Ooh, that's a cold little exchange right there." Because he
Mhm.
was like, all right, well, just answer the question." Like you can tell he's like pissed that she even like or implied that. You know what I mean?
It's like, "How dare you? You attacked me first.
Yeah,
Get o
but it's still
fuck
such
off
a
my
burn
screen."
at the same time. It's like,
Mhm.
ooh, okay.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's just not
Uh,
there in the official at all. It's hilarious.
and like I remember her saying, "It's like, will you be nice?" Like, "Yeah," and she's like, "You're not even gonna think about it." And he's like, "I'm in a hurry," and she's like, And she's like, it's like walk ahead, and she's like, hey, you're my knight. Why do I have? It's like, shouldn't you be in front? And he's like, it's only if you're telling the truth.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
right.
it's like, I don't know if you're telling the truth. Get out of here. Like, I'm not gonna show you my back.
Yeah, yeah. There's also the possibility that that some people had brought up that she's potentially like trying to kind of like backhandedly like put him into a binding vow in this conversation.
Oh, like being a knight.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like maybe if he had, but I mean, he still says, you know, like, yeah, you know, like she's like, will you be my knight? And he's like, yeah, whatever. So, I mean, if that was like a, you know, like a shady, underhanded, like condition meeting, you know, situation, then I feel like she would be a little bit more excited about the exchange, you know,
Hmm.
considering he definitely said yes to her request to be, you know, her knight. So she seems to be acting like he didn't do or behave the way that she was expecting. So I doubt it, but there's also just that underlying possibility that he did meet the conditions and she's just not giving it away externally. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So
Yeah.
you never know with a story like Jujutsu Kaisen. I doubt it's a binding vow situation just because binding vows seem to, you know, be a little bit more you know, transparent, less opaque, you know, in
Yeah.
conversation, you know what I mean? Because like when Sakuna and Yuji made their binding vow, it was like straight, clear. These are the terms, these are the conditions. This is what you get. This is what I get, kind of situation. And even with Mahito and Kokichi, Mekamaru, I'm pretty sure they had a binding vow
They had
situation.
clear
Yeah,
defined
yeah, clear
stakes.
defined stuff and stakes. Yeah, so you never know, but just wanted to throw all the possibilities out because we had a lot of really cool conversations inside of a couple group chats about this chapter. So just wanted to throw that
Um,
all out into the open.
I wonder, because like, I wonder if like it's knights. Let's see. What does the name Remy mean?
Good question.
It means oarsman.
Oarsman, like on a boat.
Um, and in Japanese, it means heaven. It's combination of heaven, sky, and pupil.
Mm,
Um,
tight.
but like in French, it means like oarsman.
Okay,
But the main thing I was wondering is like the choice of knight is like very specific.
right.
So I wondered if she would like try to get him to call her a queen, and if she does
Ooh.
that, like she could move him like a chess piece, like force him to move.
Oh boy.
Um, you know,
That'd
like
be
force him to swap
insane.
places or something like that.
Yeah,
But I feel like the whatever may have helped him uh,
sure.
avoid sort of conditions, but
Well, like
you
here's
never
my
know.
thing, right? Because it's like, okay, we know that jujutsu sorcerers, you know, it works kind of like Nen. You don't have like this huge menagerie of techniques that you can just jump into your bag and grab like one piece or, you know, like
Mhm.
any other, you know, kind of like shonen that kind of follows that formula of just racking up a bunch of spells, techniques, attacks, whatever. You kind of just operate inside of your specific one, maybe two applications of your curse technique. You know what I mean? So if she's got like some kind of entirely, you know, internal, mental, metaphysical, like stun or, you know, condition meeting technique that has to do with conversation, then like why is her hair shaped like a scorpion tail? Since we have two strong examples of hair related techniques that seem to only offer propulsion and movement speed and, you know, things like that. You know what I mean? So I don't know if Yuji really did beat this the first girl that, you know, from the beginning and she's really
Jet set.
done. Yeah, like I feel like we probably would have seen more to her technique if she had more, and then we just outright don't know what the guy who pulled up to defend her is even doing, but he's clearly flying with his shit too. You know what I mean? So I want to say that like if she does have two techniques, I want to say that whatever this conversational one is kind of is too intense to allow her scorpion tail hair
To be very
technique to also
straightforward.
be there too. Yeah, you know what I mean? It's very I don't know. You know, like usually only get like one move is what I'm saying basically. And
Yeah.
these don't seem to be related to each other in any way, at least not
Mhm.
now. So I don't know. But
One of the things that I noticed on page 17, when
sure.
Remy's like, he's the guy with 100 points, and she's like, oh, I got it. She's looking up to the left, but if you flip it, she's looking. But if you flip it to her perspective, you okay?
Sorry, thank you. Yeah, go
No
ahead.
worries, no worries.
Yeah,
Um,
wrong pipe.
happens to the best of us.
Whew. Okay, yeah. I'm sorry. Repeat your thought.
If that's ever happened to you, put it down in the comments.
Yeah.
All right,
So
but
many
so,
comments. That's happened to everybody. All
pew
right.
pew, same bro.
Yeah.
But so page 17, she's
Mhm.
looking up to the left,
Mhm.
right? But
Right.
if you look from her perspective, she's looking up to the right.
Right.
With pop psychology, body language, when one looks up to the right, it typically means someone's lying to you.
Right. That's right. Or looking down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I definitely feel like she's just very shady, very two-faced.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
I like her outfit.
Me too.
It's it's interesting to see like kind of a crescent splash for the décolletage.
Yeah.
Uh, and kind of like almost like combat boots along with like this modified cheapao like slit dress.
Yeah.
Uh, just very stylish but still functional. Um,
Absolutely.
and like page 13, that guy's outfit is so cool.
Yeah. It's
Like
got like
it's a
the shark
sleeveless
head.
jacket
Yeah.
with like the shark face that they put on like
The collar.
planes. Yeah, they put
Yeah.
on planes for World War II
Oh.
or
Oh. Yeah. For sure. Mm-hmm.
and like I think it's really interesting because like he seems like an older guy too compared to the jet set woman,
Right.
which is funny because helicopters are an outdated form of aerial transportation.
Oh
Double
shit.
down.
Yeah, and
I'm
she's
dissing
got
the guy.
like the F-150 fighter jet or whatever.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know anything about planes,
she
but
seems a lot younger, you know.
yeah, and she
Um,
definitely does seem younger.
she specialized in tackling, like straight up headbutting.
Yeah, that double
So I
spread is so fire. Oh my
Dude,
god,
yeah,
on 8
8,
and 9.
9, fantastic, and she took him through buildings.
Yeah.
She headbutted the shit out of
Yeah,
him.
and he ate that
Uh,
shit. Choreography is busting in this chapter. She hits him with the fucking bolt tackle, and then he literally just like recuperates
shrugs it off.
midair and like backflip, like handspring roundoffs onto the top of the building, picks up a piece of
Absolutely.
rubble and busts her ass with it. Poof, and he puts some curse energy in it too. I love shit
Yeah,
like
I
that.
love that.
I
That's
love
so
it.
good. And the thing is, that rebel is from the building he just went through. He literally
Yes.
just grabbed onto the
Like, I don't
nearest
need
thing
this
next
in a
to him.
second. Yeah, like
And
come on.
he's just like, as soon as I get on my feet, I'm gonna dome
What
this
a
person.
goat, dude! I love seeing the evolution of Yuji's combat intelligence or his combat IQ, because
Mhm.
like if you go back to the
It's
beginning of the
right.
series, like that motherfucker still had hands, but he wasn't as resourceful, in
Yeah.
combat with his environment. I want to say he has a
No,
lot more spatial, and I can't remember the exact term, but like basically the same thing, that Cyclops and Captain America have, like
mhm.
spatial awareness. You know what I mean? It's
Yes,
just like
yes.
fire. Yeah.
It's really good because he knows his main weakness is ranged.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, like, I was just like, you know what? That's good. You understand that you're getting attacked by a flying opponent, and you immediately go for a ranged weapon. Doesn't matter what it is. And he gets her right in the side,
Yeah,
just like
dude.
it looks like
Liver
she just took
shot.
like a
Ah.
it looks like she took a liver shot from Ipo, you know? It's
Yeah,
like,
for real.
boom,
Wow.
instant bruising,
Yeah.
brutal. And then she falls through like this glass
Yeah.
ceiling
Yep.
into this building below.
Out of here.
She's out.
Hmm.
She's gonna come
She's
back.
probably she's probably not out, but like
She's
wow.
back,
What
but
an
she's not having a good
exchange.
day. She's
Yeah.
not having a good day.
Yeah.
And I love how the guy's just like, "What the hell? What you do to my woman?" And she's like, "Well, I guess I'll ask him." And it's just like, this
Yeah.
guy's
It's like,
pissed.
damn, I
He's
needed
like,
to ask her some questions. And then he pulls up and he's like, all right, well, you're the guy then. Squares back up. And
yeah,
it's like, dude, Yuji,
exactly.
fucking love you,
Dude,
bro.
that helicopter dude is so pissed. He broke his walkie-talkie. He like crunched it in his hand. I was
Yeah.
like, "Ooh, he's heated."
Yeah.
I wonder if he has like rockets or like does he have any projectiles? Because like to
Yeah, I
me,
don't know.
if you can fly, the main weapon that you can have that you can fly is that you can fly over your opponent and just pew pew pew,
Yes.
drop stips, warheads on foreheads, man. Like that's the advantage,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure.
But like the bolt tackle, so cool.
Oh yeah.
Like I understand mobility, I understand speed, but like I want to see that ranged combat a little bit. I want to
Yep.
see the dogfight.
We're here
Uh,
now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm super excited about the future of the Culling games. I think that all of these chapters leading up to it and now that we're here have just been the perfect transition into what's going to be happening. And if this first chapter is any indication of exactly what this shit's going to be like, then man, 5, 6, part 10, you know what I mean, is going to be part 15, all that shit. It's like I'm so excited
Mm-hmm.
to see us get into the meat and potatoes
Oh
of
yeah.
the event, you know what I mean?
Um,
Especially if Megumi is on go like this. Oh my god.
Dude, he's sinister looking. Like, look at him at page 15.
Oh
He's
yeah.
like, he's like, because you attacked me. Just like,
He looks
like
so pissed and serious
he's
and ready to go.
he is pissed.
Yeah.
Like, he's just barely restrained aggression.
Yes.
Um, the kid, Amai, on page 14, I noticed that he has like this scuff mark on his face that kind of matches Remy. So I think that the flying hairdo folks were beating him up a little bit.
Yeah. I think they're
Like not
definitely
just
whooping
his
him.
language. They're definitely like knocking him around. Um, and his hat seems a little flat. So
Hmm.
just noting that for the future.
Sure. Oh yeah, it
Yeah.
do got a little flatness to it in the back there on the last couple
Oh, he
pages.
might be a kappa.
I guess we'll see.
All right.
Did you
Yeah,
have anything
exactly.
else for Jujutsu Kaisen this week?
Honestly, this was a nice hot start to a chapter, but
Yeah.
I'm pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. Hell yeah. Great combo, man. All right. Getting into Mashle, Magic and Muscles, Chapter 80, Mash Burn Dead, and the Friendly Card Game. This was a great chapter. It did it did a lot for in this opening scene. I really liked like the little mini flexes that we get from both sides. It does a really good job of kind of establishing that competitive tension that we're going to need going into this final leg of the exam. I was actually surprised that this wasn't the actual event and that this was just like a kind of like meet and like talk shit kind of situation, and then everyone's coming back next week or whatever to actually do the thing. So it
Yeah.
establishes a little bit of rivalries or whatever, you know what I mean? Like you got Margaret Macaron and this dude with his tongue out. They kind of have their little moment here, which was really cool. Loved the full like splash page on page 4 dedicated to their kind of exchange. I think the
Oh
scene
yeah.
did exactly what it needed to for the setup of the confrontation. So we kind of like know who's looking at who. We know Margaret is all about, he's like a Hisoka kind of character, all
Mhm.
about the
That smoke.
yeah, all about the smoke, right? Yep. So like it's cool to see, them kind of like drawing those lines. Um yeah, and then it goes, right into an incredible scene over, with this card game and the comedy in this is great. This is kind of like what I was talking about a couple chapters ago, which is having, more time for the group to kind of like develop and like, build their bonds, like as characters outside of combat and outside of conflict. We're getting scenes like this that really just makes you care about the team a lot more. And
Mhm.
I think I said that Masha was kind of lacking, this kind of atmosphere in a previous like
Camaraderie,
review
yeah.
or something, you know what I mean? I don't think that's true anymore.
I
Um
feel like they've definitely shored that up a bit.
yeah, and not just with this chapter. I think I was just misremembering the series, honestly, because it's like now that we're back here, it's like I'm thinking of so many other times where we've had interactions like these, and it does make the cast feel a lot better and a lot
Mhm.
more like I feel like I know them a lot more. It's not the same as like legitimate conversations about pasts and
Yeah.
motivations and goals being rehashed all the time like we're used to seeing inside of main
Yeah.
cast development. But I mean like comedy, whatever, it's mashal, it's gaggy, you know what I mean? Like they're playing fucking
Yeah.
Go Fish and like Old Maid and like BS and shit. Like that's cool. And it's funny as hell, bro. Like whenever whenever
Dude,
Dote's
no,
about to beat Abdel,
it kills
Abyss
me.
Razor pulls up with the sword.
This crazy. They're just like, I'm gonna slice your throat. And he's like, not that card.
Yeah,
Oh, this card.
yeah,
Got it.
yeah. He's like,
Um,
this game
well,
sucks.
also, he's like, I hate this game.
Yeah,
He's crying. I love it. He's like, this
hilarious.
is the most violent, unfair game Old Maid ever.
Yeah.
And he's like, at least Mash is good at like bad at playing cards, and Mashal is just using finger force to keep him
No,
from.
that was the funniest panel for me is the funniest the funniest panel for me is page 12 when he's like, all right, Mash's turn. Oh shit, he drew the Old Maid, and then he's got zero poker face. He just looks so shook. He's like, no. Yeah, he's like, oh.
not like this.
Yeah, and then he just won't let him go. You see like the veins in his hand just holding him. It's beautiful,
Oh man.
beautiful, hilarious, amazing Mashle comedy.
As your classmate, I don't want you to grow up to be someone who cheats. Okay. Oh man.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
I think the interaction with Macaron and Giluf, is what his name is on
yeah,
page 3,
yeah,
is pretty interesting. I think it's interesting. It's like, oh, your family, huh? He's like, I like that. If you're buddies, you're gonna be the first to die. And
yeah,
like, maybe I don't know. I feel like it's a cliche for villains to be like, oh, friends, family,
yeah.
affection will
I'm
only
gonna
hold
kill
you
you in
back.
front of him. Yeah,
Yeah, like affection's only a weakness. I can just
yeah,
use it to get at your opponents.
yeah.
Um, but I think it's interesting because like I feel like these people have definitely been like let down by affection, so
Right.
they feel like it's not useful.
Yeah,
Definitely in that vein.
I like that.
Um, on page 5,
Hmm.
um, Gilif holds his wand like he's smoking a cigarette.
Yeah, I just noticed
And
that.
I
Yeah.
was just like, what is up with this
Maybe it's
guy?
like one of those, you know how you have that nervous tick where you have the pencil or the pen and
Spin,
you like,
yeah.
yeah, like spin it in between like your fingers and shit, or like the coin up and
Oh
down your
yeah.
knuckles or whatever. Yeah,
Absolutely. I think it might be that. I like that on page 7, Domina exudes that dark aura,
yes.
which definitely kind of keys on the previous chapter when they were doing like the 5 different attacks. That's definitely his. So
Oh,
we've
sure.
narrowed that down a
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit.
Hmm.
And we know that one dude had bugs. So
Yeah. Fuck that
that
guy.
what's your special defense?
I'd be
B.
like, nah, bro. I'd be like, someone else got to fight this dude, bro.
It's me, Metal Gear Solid's the
Yeah,
hatred.
Mash, you got to fight this one, bro. I'll die to any other magic, but like I'm not getting eaten to death by like magical ants or spiders. Like, go fuck yourself.
Oh, it's gonna be so good.
Yeah,
I like that. But it is crazy to me because like we talked about it in the previous chapter that it was like, man, there's a lot of like BS, strong-handed BS going on, and
yeah,
this is just a meet and greet, right? Like
right.
there's no judge, it's just the meet and greet, and maybe that's why they felt like they can get away with it because there's no judge, it's only a meet and greet.
Yeah, yeah. That actually does kind of bring it back to what we were talking about last week, actually, in regard to like why it seems to have gone the way that it did, even though like this is supposed to be regulated and there's
Mhm.
supposed to be people making sure that everything goes properly, and then you just clearly have like super shady backhanded shit going on right in front of you and like no one speaking out on it, and it's like the scene went the way that it did, but knowing that this isn't the actual event, I guess, makes that whole kind of situation feel a little bit better. But
Mhm.
yeah,
Um,
coming out of the
I
card
like.
game. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, and then right, I do like the structure for this chapter where it's ABA kind of things like heaviness, levity, heaviness,
Yeah,
back to back and back.
yeah.
Um, uh, coming straight out of the card game.
Hmm.
The guy with the shark teeth and the eye patch, is Levis Rose Quartz.
Yes.
Um, Rose quartz is typically like a crystal that is signified with love or like
Mm,
self-love and affection, which is interesting for a character that's just so cold-hearted.
right.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, this is a great setup for the antagonist group that we're dealing with right now. It does a really good job of establishing the hierarchy of power, right? Because we have all of this, initial characterization for Levis Rose Quartz, and they're gassing him up. And this isn't even Domina. You know what I mean? Like Domina follow, like they're talking about how much this dude is a prodigy and all of the things that he kind of, accomplished, to get here and who his connections are. You know what I mean? So we know that at least Domina and wrong pipe. You good?
I'm gonna put that in the comments. I'm gonna put that one in the comments. I
Yeah.
know your pain, brother.
Hilarious. But yeah, no, I just think it's cool. You know what I mean? Like Mashle is good at setting up stakes. You know what I mean? It's good at creating hype
Mhm.
for the protagonist and the antagonist. We know exactly what we're going into for pretty much every confrontation because they do a good job of letting you know who these characters are, what they've accomplished, and gives you really good displays of their strength before the conflict actually goes down. So the only thing that I'm obviously worried about is just the execution of all of this setup, because when we're coming out of the the Wahlberg and Innocent Zero stuff, I felt that a lot of the execution on that was kind of clunky, fell kind of flat, you know what I mean? So this is
Yeah.
obviously the next leg of the adventure, so more danger, more peril, more hype, arguably,
More
inside of at least
detail.
the personal conflict of our main cast, because before it was more so Innocent Zero and Wahlberg, that kind of almost came
Yeah.
to a stalemate. That was a lot of the stress and tension was inside of that confrontation that got resolved outside of MASH, basically. So inside of what our team is going to be directly dealing with, I want to say this is the highest stakes we've seen for them. So yeah, you just got to see how it goes. I think that they once again did a great job of establishing the threats, because we even have Cell War here in this last little scene with Domina just completely under the heel of Domina, and Cell War was hyped up pretty hardcore
Yeah, he
along with
was.
Innocent Zero too. So it's cool. It feels good. I'm sure the action is going to be incredible from a narrative standpoint. I'm excited to see how it is executed and how it does all come to a conclusion, just because I really am ready for Mashle to just shatter my expectations
Yeah.
after the last arc or whatever. So yeah.
The part that I thought was really interesting in this area was in page 16, 17. There's some parts that I want to really focus on. Top page of 17. Innocent Zero, he looks like a combination of like Sephiroth and Missing No from Pokemon.
Oh wow.
He's regenerating. He's got this weird like cube disintegration going on with his body. He looks
Yeah.
a little bit like Mewtwo, a little
It's
bit
very
like
very Genova,
Funky Legs.
very
Yeah, very
yeah.
Genova. Um, father to your mother. Um, but the nice thing I wanted to notice is that we get the first sight of Innocent Zero's base.
Yeah.
Next to that very small section right there.
Yep.
Um,
And it
and
looks
it's got,
very biological, kind of like organic material, like where everything else like kind of looks like a cathedral in Mashle. Usually this seems a little bit more, I don't know, in the realm of body horror, which is
yes,
which is like totally
in
the vibe. Yeah.
the bottom 17, but the top page,
Sure.
page, a little sliver, the little rectangle right here.
Oh, sure.
You get to see like conical rooftop towers.
Oh, yeah.
You get to see kind of this classical looking fortress. It reminds me of like old school prisons, a
Mm.
little bit. And then you get to see a little bit, and it appears to be water showing various spikes underneath, or that this is
Oh.
actually a floating castle.
Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say, because it's
Yeah.
like it can't
It's
be
either
like a
water,
reflection. I want to say, yeah.
unless they're hiding inside like a reflection of a water, like a giant lake or something.
Yeah, but like I also feel like you could see like maybe clouds on the very bottom of that thin strip
Yeah.
panel that shows the zoomed out,
For me, it was the
perspective.
streaming, like little, like wavy lines that made me think it was water. But I
Right.
think you're right; it is clouds, and
Yeah.
like with the stuff going above too.
Right. Yeah. Those are
It's
that's clearly like sky, and we seem pretty close to it, at least
right.
from this perspective. Yeah.
Zero's flying castle. Let's go.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh man! So we know why he's hard to pinpoint.
hmm Yes.
It's because he literally. Do I look like a man whose feet touch the ground?
Yeah. I'm in
Oof.
motion. I'm up above. You don't know where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Incredible though. Like I'm super excited for the next couple of chapters. I think that we do maybe get one more before the bout chapter, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
For just a little
Like a
bit more
training
setup.
montage?
And even if it's not a training montage, maybe it's like half training montage, half, further development for the antagonist cast. Maybe we see, what everybody else on the team has got going on, at least to a little degree or something like that. Either way, I feel like it would be exciting. I feel, but depending on how much buildup they do before they go into the conflict, I feel like is really important. So, because it's like I feel like we want to. Are we going to learn more about them beforehand, or are we going to learn about them during? I don't know which would slap harder.
That's fair.
But
I think there might be another assassination attempt because this
Mm.
seems to be their MO. It's just like,
Sure.
oh, we show up to the event. Well, they didn't show up for some wacky reason.
Yeah.
So
it
I
could be
wonder
more
if
like
I think if like, because like they have 5 people on Mash's team, they have 6 on the other side of Valkus. I think that maybe one of them is gonna be proactive
Oh
and
yeah,
do assassination attempts.
because it's only Mash and Lance originally, right? Or no, I thought it
Yeah,
was 6 versus 6. Okay, so it was Mash and Lance, and then the three came in. There wasn't another one before Margaret and Abyss Razor stepped in.
I mean, I'm looking at
Who would
like
it be?
them
I
playing.
guess.
I'm
Yeah,
looking at them, watching them play cards, and there's only 5 of them. So,
yeah. Let's go back here. Oh yeah, you're totally right.
so I think that they're like super outnumbered. But I think that this is a good opportunity in the next chapter. I'm gonna
Well, no,
throw
because
it
they're
out
missing
now.
Macaron. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Continue.
Oh, yeah, never
Yeah,
mind.
yeah,
I thought
yeah.
there was gonna be an assassination attempt either way.
Oh sure.
Um, to kind of even out the numbers.
Yeah,
Honestly, speaking of Macaron, I'm really glad that they brought him back as kind of like a heel turn and protagonist assistant.
yeah,
And he's goofy, isn't he? Like he's
yeah.
just like, we are Mash's family, and I'm like, what
Yeah, it's
family?
like, oh
Like
shit, been
it's
watching
like
Fast and Furious. Shit since you got whooped.
I used to think I was the strongest, but I learned
Yeah.
there's nothing stronger than family.
Got the short hair like Dom too. Vin
Dude,
Diesel got it.
nah, it's
Hey,
funny.
but no, like Margaret, like having this heel turn makes a lot of sense because their motivations were always established as like, I just want to fight strong people. You know what I mean? So it's like Abdel,
Yeah.
kind of having a debt to repay, which makes sense. Abyss Razor just following Abdel no matter what makes sense that
Yep.
he's there too. And then
And he's
Margaret being like, oh, swole
odd.
motherfucker, strong people. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. You know what I mean? So it all feels great that
It
they're
feels
together
good,
like this.
but I'm really glad that Margaret Macaron is gonna be like reused, right? Like,
Right.
because like they hyped them up so much, and when they fought, I was just like, I want more.
Yeah.
I want more out of this fight, and I wasn't getting it. And I was like, man, what a waste.
Yeah.
That seemed
I
like
felt
such a
that way
fire.
too. Yeah, I felt that way
Such a
too.
fire character. I was just like,
Yeah.
you could do more of this, and I'm
Yeah.
glad they are.
Yeah. That was like a big point in my complaint about uh how like kind of like disappointing the previous arc was just inside of the Margaret and the Mash confrontation. But he's back now. See what he's got to do on the pro tag side.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll all work out. I'm sure. It's fucking Mashal. Mashal's great, and yeah, I don't know. I'm excited as hell.
Nice chapter.
Absolutely. Was there anything else you wanted to speak on?
I really covered everything that I want to with Margaret.
Awesome. Can't wait for the next chapter.
Mm-hmm.
All right, getting into My Hero Academia, chapter 328. No man is an island. How do we feel?
This was one of my favorite chapters, to be
Yeah,
honest.
fire.
I love Stain. He's a
Yes.
great character, very flawed, but self-aware enough to know that he is. He's like,
Yeah.
and like to touch on that, like uh the whole interaction. Like I think we should start with like kind of what we're seeing right now, because like
Sure.
this whole Alcatraz Island
Yeah, this little
thing,
flashback
Tartarus,
situation here is so
it's
sick.
destroyed
Yeah. Oh,
itself.
yeah, for sure. Wait,
Lights
real
coming.
quick. Have we seen Stain's face before in My Hero Academia? Is this the first time that we're like seeing his actual face without any like, excessive shading or anything
I
like that?
I think so in this one.
Yeah.
Um, I feel like I saw it in My Hero Vigilantes
Yeah.
when he realized that he basically chopped off his own nose
Mhm.
because he was basically told, he's like, oh no, you can pretend that you're um a regular person and not a villain. And he's just like, oh, you think that I'm bluffing on my dedication? And he chops off his own nose.
Yeah.
And he's just like, no, now everyone that sees me knows how he's like that I am a villain and that
Yeah.
I am not one of you fakers. And I was just like, oh
Yeah.
man, he's
Wow.
hardcore.
Yeah.
Damn.
I think this is also the first time that we've gotten like his name in My Hero Academia. Maybe that I'm not 100% sure on either. But
They
Chizome Akaguro.
I know they touched on it a little bit when they were like, "Oh, we've got him arrested and we're processing
Yeah, that's right.
him.
That's right. That's
We're
right.
just sending him to Tartarus." And they're like, they talked about his career as a person that like once tried to be a hero and then
Hmm.
like basically ended up becoming a guy standing on a soapbox in the middle of the street ranting about the flaws of and then disappeared for a while, and that's him.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, this was a great opening scene, bro. Like, and Stain is a great vehicle, I want to say, for the underlying
Dissatisfaction.
the dissatisfaction and like the underlying theme, I want to say, of My Hero Academia is just Stain's character and what he represents, and like his outlook on society is slowly starting. It went from like, holy shit, this dude's a maniac, to very slowly over time kind of being the outlook that's almost shared by most people once they
Yeah.
see, once society sees everybody that stepped down from heroism, once the heat really got turned up and it wasn't as much about celebrities and brand deals as it was about actually saving people, seeing those, heroes, kind of
Yeah.
step down in that kind of situation. It's just like, damn, Stain was right as fuck. You know what I mean? Like, it's always comes back to Stain, I want to say, inside of all of the moral ambiguity,
Oh yeah.
in the series. So it's great to see like what that looks like on a little bit more visceral level inside of Tartarus. In this little flashback, he hears people talking crazy. This dude busts out of his cell, and he's clearly in here for like sexual assault or something. And
Yeah.
I just
No,
remember
this guy
being like,
is.
ew. And then right away, rah, just fucking jugular strike. You're done.
See, I
You're out of
appreciate
here.
that so much
Yeah.
about out of Hori, it's just
Yeah.
because like he's like he doesn't reward like aggressively sexual characters ever.
Right.
And it's just like good.
Yeah.
This is the kind of media that I want to succeed a lot because like I like the concept of Goblin Slayer. I do not like a lot of
Mm.
the execution of Goblin Slayer.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like I wish I could enjoy this idea more,
Right. But
but
you had to suss
I
it up.
can't.
Yeah.
Like I can't. Like I had to slog through so much and just like blur past through things. Like do
Yeah.
that thing where I like click 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 click. Okay,
Yeah. It's
did I
like, okay,
see
okay.
anything?
Yep.
And then I start at the beginning and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna do this. All right. Ugh. And it
Yeah.
just hurts every time you see it.
For sure.
Um,
None of
but
that here.
like none of that here.
Stain's giving you broken glass to the
Swift
neck.
justice.
Yeah.
He's got the shiv. Love that for him.
Yeah.
Um, and then he is a very pragmatic person, and I like the way his brain works, where he's like, others met grisly ends, gripping firearms, but this one clutches something like a babe in his arms. And
Yes.
even the guy's just like, why'd you grab this and not the weapon? And he's like,
Yes.
I need information. And this is another moment where scanlation and official translation
Mm.
don't always match up.
Sure.
Because I thought that the language in this chapter was a little clunky, but like it also fits because the guy is dying.
Right.
So like I don't expect, an eloquent dying man.
Right.
Where he's just like I like is like you worked with
You work for
Shigaraki.
Shigaraki.
It's like
Can't
it's
give you
like
this.
it's like
He's
it's
like,
like
no,
it's
I'm the
like
one that needs to have this.
it's
You
like
don't get it, brother. Yeah.
it's like villains can't have this. That kind of is like this stored data, and he's like that information has to give it to he has to get it to the true heroes.
Yeah.
He's like because I think the guard says it's like stop it. That has to reach the heroes that can help.
Yes.
And then he's just like I was like he's like drop it. It's like drop it. This needs to be done. And then Akaguro is like, this era's gone wrong. It's like you're right. The world has gone wrong, but don't worry. Your convictions will be rewarded. I'll bring it. It's like and
Oh, so this is the scanlation.
like a little bit like that. That's the one they talk about. Like I'm riffing off memory.
Right,
To be
right, right.
honest.
Sure, sure, sure.
But like the way they're talking about it, and he's like, I'll make sure he's like your duty is carried out by a true hero. And there was the lines like, "Are you a man or a beast?" leads to in the scanlation, the line his response was, he's like, it's like I'm, it's like I'm is like his response was oh god, anyone that is a true ally of justice
Yeah.
will end up a beast.
Oh,
and
sure.
and
Okay.
that was his line, was just like that was it. Like he had one line, and then
That slaps a
he's
little
like,
bit harder. I'm not
yeah,
gonna
and I was
front.
like, it's so good, and it's
Yeah.
like as opposed to like I'm merely an ally of the. He's like, because he says he's like I'm working for a world that should be,
Yeah.
but all those who ally with justice are beasts. And I
Yeah.
was just like, oh yeah, because
Yeah.
like we had that interaction with like Midoriya, where
Right.
he looks ragged, he looks feral, everyone's terrified of him, and I was just like, yeah, no, he's a scariest 14-year-old.
That's
So
right.
like I totally see that kind of thing, because like um I
Because look, yeah, you're right. That's a good connection though. Because if you look at
yeah,
Deku, in the last arc, where he was on his rogue shit, he was a true hero of justice in those times, and
and
everyone looked
he
at him like an animal. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So yeah. So I mean, like when it comes down to it, the world is so fucked up that the only way to make any real headway or any real progress is to go against the grain in all of the ways that you've
hmm
kind of been programmed to think things should go, and you just have to do what you need to do in any kind of time, which
yeah.
circumstances are nuanced as fuck inside of these kind of conflicts. You know what I mean? So you can't go straight down the hero checklist in all of
Yeah.
these situations.
Yeah.
You have to veer away from that path if you want to make a difference in this world, in the state that it's in right now. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit more shattering of the veil, and
Mhm.
it coming full circle inside of Stain's dialogue here. So that's a
I
great,
think that's
great mention.
absolutely emphasized because, like, we talked about, like, in the early series, they talk about how um, I didn't think, my body moved on its own
That's
as
right.
if by instinct I had to act like instinct. They don't
Yeah,
care about the rules.
that's
They
right.
just followed their instinct and believed this is what needs to be done. I'm going to act. And people, it's that fight or flight response, that kind of animalistic, deep down thing that we have, as
Yes.
opposed to like this extremely civilized, follow the rules, follow the programming, let's go with the flow, and like let's go with like the precedent that has been set, much like uh later in the chapter when the like effective UN handlers
Yeah.
for heroes are talking. It's like, oh, we can't, you know rally all these people, even though these heroes are saying, oh, but we should.
Yeah.
Let's go, stop with the paperwork, stop with the rules, this is not helping. It's
Yes.
like they are poorly restrained animals of just like they are beasts, as
Yes.
as Akaguro would put it, that they
Right.
are true allies of justice, because like uh in the scanlation, like the Egyptian dude isn't
Hmm.
even saying, he's like, I like this translation a little better in the official one,
Yeah.
because he's literally hieroglyphic and he says, I'll flatten all for one, which is
Oh,
hilarious to me. I
wow.
love the pun, I like the little bit like injection of levity.
Yeah.
It's just a little thing, but I love it.
Yeah, it's good.
But then
And
like
he
I
looks
like that
so 2D in this panel too.
straight
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
he's literally gonna flatten him.
That's funny.
Um, I thought it was great. It was a great like change from the scanlation, because the other one was talking about like is like, yeah, Salam just keeps saying that all for one is growing everywhere. We must stop him. That kind
Mm,
of thing. And I was
sure,
like, all
sure.
right, cool. So
Yeah,
like
that was
that
cool.
makes sense.
I love the scene beforehand though, before the UN
Oh, absolutely.
scene, because it gives us a lot of information about All Might's perspective of One for All and how it affects him, and we get this, we get all this information about how, well, before that, even talking about the Tartarus breakout in regard to Shigaraki and All for One, and how the breakout happened because of a pulsing resonation link between All for One's mental and Shigaraki's mental, I think is what it was. And they're kind of upping the stakes inside of the threat of One for All and Shigaraki, or All for One and Shigaraki, even more by
Hmm.
saying this distance was so massive, and they were able to link their signal in a way that produced the desired effect on the circuitry and the inner workings of Tartarus that allowed this breakout to happen in the first place. And All Might goes
Hmm.
over here in this beautiful diagram of Aura Might and All Might, and he's like, bruh, like I have to be like super close
I could
to
be hands-on to
yeah,
be a teacher
yeah.
in that kind of way.
Well, it's like I think it's talking about like proximity to the current inheritor of One for All. It's like the closer he is, the more in sync he is with his vestige in that space, I think is what he's saying. And he's
Hmm.
like, All for One and Shigaraki were who knows how far apart, and they were able to pull this off. So like that's a really big fucking deal if they're
Hmm.
that powerful at that distance, I think is what I kind of like took from the
Um,
exchange.
I feel like they were just talking about like, oh, all for one should be functioning like one for all in that sense. And they're like, how did he coordinate? And they're like, no, 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 no. He's like, guys, you forget. His ability is not like mine.
Hmm.
Its literal um intent and origin are different from mine.
Mm,
Like, because he's like, I'm one for all. So like I contribute my feelings, right? Um, but like all for one is also an amalgamation of so many different quirks that he found a workaround to communicate with him. This is not the same.
oh,
He's
sure.
trying to explain to them, it's like, hey man, this is not exactly the same. Like, yes, there is a little bit of vestige that probably makes it easier to communicate. Like, but like, um, you know, that might be an effect. Like, I think that vestige of one for all, is there, but it's supplemented very much by a quirk.
Right.
And like, just a little bit of an aside, um, there were chapters where um, a guy was he's calling a guy a master, and he was talking to like a mental projection in his head. And he was a guy who had a bunch of quirks grafted onto him, and he was working for like, he wasn't explicitly stated, but he was working for All for One.
Hmm.
And he was calling this guy master, and it didn't look like for All for One, except for there was this one moment when it zoomed up on the master's face, and he smiled, and
Mm,
he had All for One smile, and I was like,
yeah,
so he's able to mentally project himself to his proteges. So
sure.
he might like any Nomu level vessel,
He can kind of just
basically.
like hijack mentally
Yeah,
whenever
yeah.
he needs to.
Or at least he can project it and like guide them. Because he was trying to coach a guy, and he's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, you're not listening to me anymore.
right.
Oh well, you're still doing your thing, and this will still help me in some of my other plans. So I'll just let you run wild."
Yeah.
And like,
Reminds
it
me
was
of
interesting.
a comic that I'm reading called Tokyo Ghost, which is like this like super cyberpunk indie comic by Rick Remender and Sean Murphy. And like the
Hmm.
main antagonist is like a guy who's kind of like blended into the internet. He's like assimilated with it. And so anyone that has like a
Oh,
nano pack, upgrade inside of them, which is most people, you know what I mean,
yeah.
in this world, like he can literally just jump into them whenever he wants and kind of like hijack their consciousness for whatever
Oh,
reason.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So he's really hard to take down because he can literally be inside of anyone at any time. So
Yeah, it makes you wonder because like All for One's given his powers out to a lot of people.
right, right,
And he
right.
seems to be like acutely aware of things. So like do you think that like in Lady Nagant when she blew up, do you feel like a small vestige of All for One was just hiding within that power, waiting for her to trip things up and then blow her up?
Yeah, I think that's what it
Was it
was. Yeah.
like and I feel like that's how he's doing because he has such perfect timing. And even if he is like one of the smartest dudes in the world and he has a billion, mental enhancing quirks, I just can't imagine a single living being being able to compute that much stuff constantly in tandem
Yeah.
live.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I think that this is a confirmation of my earlier theory of that. Um, and it's like, it takes so much. And I love the police officers. Like
Catman.
I love
Catman Jones.
I like that Takauji is he's showing like some scrubble like scruff now. Like he used to be
Yeah.
that clean cut looking
Oh, that's
detective
right.
kind of
Yeah.
guy,
Now
and
he's like, man, I seen some shit in this
he's like,
department,
I'm
man.
working a lot of overtime, guys.
Yeah.
Ain't seen my sister or anything for a while.
Yeah. Do we have a name
It's
for the cat person?
his name is Sansa
Oh,
for
Sansa.
three.
Yep, yep.
Yes, because he has like three little stripes on his forehead,
Yep.
which is what tiger. It's literally like the symbol for tiger.
Oh, nice.
The three stripes.
Hmm.
So with the little single vertical line
Right.
through that. But
Hmm.
his name is Officer Sansa,
Nice.
and he's one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Because I just like his like really kind of like matter of fact reactions that are like he's like, so we have 2 months, right? No, no, it says make him complete in 38 days. Oh.
Yeah.
Just
It's like, so wait a minute, we have like 3 days actually then, which is
and his
insane.
eyes get so big. He's just
Yeah.
like, ah,
Oh.
fuck. But
Yeah.
like but the radio waves and like the all for one vestiges being used to order the Nomu makes sense. The idea of that, like, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
And like the fact that Shigaraki was able to do it later because he wasn't able to do it during like the jump force training, like with Black Hole 13.
Hmm. Oh yeah,
You
that's
know,
right.
he wasn't able to do that. He was like, "Hey, I need to call you and ask you to do these more things." He's like, "No, no, no." And then later on, after he's been modified, he's able to like when he's doing the like the superpower elimination front,
Yeah.
paranormal liberation front,
Yep.
he's like, "Oh yeah, no."
Yeah.
And it's just like, able to do it. And I'm like,
Yeah. Okay.
"Hey, I
Okay.
see the progression. I see the thing." And
Yes.
like but that was also the same time that was highlighted with he's like, all for one, give me back my body. I'm not done with it. Like
Yeah.
I liked how he argued with him and he's willing to fight. The art on page 6 was awesome.
Yes.
Just it reminded me of the first episode with All Might, where it's just this piled up debris, a wreckage,
Oh yeah,
carnage,
and he's
and All
carrying
Might
like 7
carrying the
people.
people over
Yeah.
his shoulder, and then it's just these two not helping anybody, but basking in their desire for help.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, it's such a good parallel. Hori is so good
Oh
at
yeah.
this.
The visual everything inside of
It's
My
just
Hero Academia is incredible. You get all kinds of like callbacks and subtle visual storytelling that's like nonverbal that like gives things away too. It's like whenever you got all that going on in your series and your art is this high quality, it's like you're not doing anything wrong over here on that front.
like you're killing it. And
Yeah.
like this and like this is why we keep telling people slow down. You're consuming this week to week.
Right.
Just let it happen. I'm not asking you to have One Piece level patience. Okay, we just
Right.
grew up with that. We just
Right.
happened to grow up with that.
Right. Right.
But like, chill,
Yeah.
chill.
Take it
It's
in.
gonna come together. It's
Yeah.
gonna come together,
Let
and
it
it's good.
osmosis. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let it cook. Let
Let
it
it
cook.
cook. Let it cook.
Like this is gumbo, man. Like there's a lot of ingredients, and it takes its time to simmer.
Wow, that's a
Um,
great analog. Love it. Gumbo.
um,
Yeah, that's a lot. A lot
because
too
it's
gumbo.
spicy. I'm loving this stuff.
Yeah, yeah, straight up.
Oh, it's
This
so good.
UN scene is massive. This is, if Kiko was here, he would be jumping for joy. This is something that
Oh
he's
no, he'd
been,
be saluting him right now.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, like this is what he's been saying the series needs since even before the Paranormal Liberation Front War. He's been
Hmm.
like, where are the guys in suits? Where are the UN meetings? Where
Where's the
are the
G-men?
where are the opinions of the rest of the world? You know what I mean? And there was a time where
Hmm.
he was worried that like My Hero Academia wasn't going to give us things like this because we were talking about how it might not be that kind of story where it's going to dive into
True,
things like
true.
heavily on the political side of things and it just wants to focus on Japan and and things like
Yeah.
that. So but it looks like we're finally like reaching out now. It's right on time in my opinion. I mean at any time since or even before the Paranormal Liberation Front War, just with the number of cataclysmic events that have kind of happened in
Hmm.
Japan over the course of the story. You'd think you would might have seen him a little bit earlier. So I understand Kiko's, original concerns, but we were, like we had plenty of times the conversation on this show. It's like Ori seems to be really thorough, you know what I mean, with
Oh,
this
so
kind of stuff.
thorough.
And he set up such a slow burn progression of his main character. This is obviously a very long game story, compared to some other weekly Shonen Jump titles, you know what I mean? And we were talking about it a long time ago about how this feels like this could be a 500 to 600 chapter story. I don't really know if that's what we're looking at now, but like the slow burn in the beginning definitely, and just all of the things they've checked off like since the beginning of the story, it's like they're covering a lot of the bases. We got here a little bit later than we thought we would, but like there
Yeah.
was no doubt in my mind that if the stakes were going and the threats were going to keep rising the way they were, there's no way we could stay in Japan. Like even if it is coming a little bit slower than we would have wanted, I feel like right now having it makes all the sense in the world. It's like, when is it too late for stuff like this? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if we
I
didn't get
feel like
anything
this
like
is
this
the
at
perfect
all.
time.
Yeah, I feel like it's the perfect time too. You know what I mean? Like all of the damage has been done. They can't ignore Hosu. They can't ignore Deka. They definitely can't ignore
Tartarus
everything
is
now
busted.
because of Tartarus. Yeah.
It's very much like Batman's No Man's Land saga, right? Where
Ooh.
like Killer Croc
Okay.
and yeah, it definitely gives me those
Yeah.
vibes where they're like everyone's just like panicking
Yeah.
and like huddling up, gathering what weapons they can, using
Yeah.
what support items they can,
Shit
you
has
know.
hit the fan.
Yeah.
All or nothing. What's
Let's
the
gather around a single strong person and
state of
we'll
emergency, martial
yeah,
law, shit like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
DMZ,
Yeah. So it's like it's right on time.
demilitarized zone.
And I feel like the more, that kind of happens, the more, shitty events that kind of go down, the harder this scene kind of slaps when you like look at everything that they're going to have to start addressing as a United Nations like congregation. They're like, man, it's like, well, here's all the facts. I'm sure that this conversation is going to continue, and they're going to be like Deka, Hosu, you know what I mean? All of these, things that happen leading up to this. It's going to be cool to see if we do get all of their thoughts and feelings on that kind of stuff, because the conversation that they're having here, like, it makes sense that they wouldn't have a meeting like this beforehand, because it's like you got dude over here talking about how America is so fucked up. If we take any of our troops, away from America, then American villains are going to be like, oh yeah, it's time to go. You know what I mean? So you got to
We have
really,
all the guns
yeah,
and power.
yeah, like you got to really make sure that what you're sending these heroes that are more than occupied in their own zones, you got to make sure that what you're taking them, or that the reason that you're taking them away from that, makes enough sense. So you have to let all of this shit kind of stack up before you even start thinking about recruiting their help. You know what I mean? Because it's
Well,
like
I
they got
mean,
their own shit going on, clearly. You know what I mean?
but like on page 12, there's a moment where like All for One has already accounted for this. He's like, any large scale deployment tends to encourage the major crime syndicates to stir up trouble. This time is worse than ever. Countries all over the world in turmoil, almost as if those syndicates are working together.
Yeah.
And then, according to Interpol, the man known as All for One has underworld connections at a number of countries.
Yeah, that's right.
And so, if you do the scanlation where the Salam is saying, the threat of All for One is growing everywhere.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, it is. You think he's gonna stop with Japan?
Yeah.
No. When he talked to his own brother, he said, I know you wanted to be the ultimate hero, and I want to be the ultimate villain.
Yeah.
I want to be the great demon lord this world deserves. And I was like, oh my god, this is a child's game to you.
Yeah, for real.
Fuck.
Some Squid Game shit. Uh-oh.
Yeah, dude, even worse than that.
No.
Oh man. But it's just like but the one UN guy I think is really funny is that you can tell he's like literally sweating.
Yeah, even though he's literally
he's like,
just a silhouette, they make
he's
sure
just a silhouette.
you know
He's sweating so
stressed.
much, and he's
Yeah.
just like, ours already left. They just skipped out on everything and flew off, and we get to get Star and Stripe.
Yeah.
And I like that, like, America's number one hero is an All Might wannabe, because like he literally has United States of Smash.
Yes. And he's just
And
an
also, like,
American character in a Japanese story,
and I
clearly.
like that it's a woman who is like the number one hero, because like,
yeah, for sure,
we don't see a lot of female heroes, and like the ones that we do see, like the Wild Wild Pussycats, they're still kind of almost like pop star, like cutesy pop star kind of heroes, where this one seems very classic Wonder Woman style, like
mad traditional.
Yeah, mad traditional, like not like a masculine woman, but like a woman that has assumed a masculine role in like Silver Age comics.
Yeah, for sure.
That kind of like character design is what she's screaming out to me.
Yeah, and even
Um,
outside of like the costume, like she looks so American. Like I feel like I know
mhm.
this woman in the face. Like she looks like, like a Brittany, a Tiffany, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
legitimately looks American as fuck from top to bottom. So
My
just
name is Rachel Rhode Island. What up, girl?
hey yo, Rachel Rhode Island, yo, that's hilarious.
She's got that mock punch so she can make it to brunch. Let's go. Dude, no. Dude, but like seriously, I don't know what her language screams Silver Age too. She's like, "My master's in a pickle. Gee willikers," you know?
Yeah,
It's just like,
like
okay, you're a classic hero.
yeah,
Got
very
it.
very Silver Age dialogue, also like with some
Oh
like kind of
yeah.
like Southern undertones. I want to
Mhm.
say like, yeah, dude. Hey, no skin
Yeah.
off our backs. Oh wait, no, no, no. This is them
Yeah.
talking to her. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is her only
No.
dialogue right here.
Also,
Yeah,
her cape is massive. Like that
yeah,
double spread. And I'm just waiting and like part of me is just like I just saw her riding a plane and just like having that massive cape and
yeah,
I was just like Edna mode. No capes.
yeah.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting. I'm
Yes.
calling it now. She's gonna get that cape yanked and she's gonna be like swung around
Yeah.
like a yo-yo.
No. Oh man, if they play into like the Watchmen logic of like, dude, having capes has only gotten people killed in this industry, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I
what do you
mean,
mean?
All Might
Dollar
doesn't
Bill
have
got
a
his
cape.
yeah, exactly. Dollar Bill, I think is who it was in Watchmen, got his cape stuck in a revolving door, and then burglars beat his ass to death while he's like stuck in the door and shit. It's like Alan Moore is like, what the fuck are these capes for? Get this shit out of here, man. Like,
Yeah. You know, do a dignified mantle, but no
yeah,
capes,
yeah.
please.
Yeah, but I love how beefy she is, bro. She's swole as hell. She's buff as
Dude,
fuck.
no.
Corey's really good
Her
with that kind
forearm
of
looks like
stuff.
my leg, dude.
Yeah,
It's like
Nana, Star and Stripe,
mm.
like,
And
he's
I
got the
love those characters so much. Like and
yeah,
he gives them different body types. Like he doesn't
for
give
sure.
like the same
Hmm.
like the same Jack Kirby jacked woman
Sure, yeah,
vibes.
for
They
sure.
have different levels of jacked and then they focus on different parts of their body. Like Nana was just very toned and had like a very developed torso,
Yeah,
whereas
and
Mirko
the thighs
mostly
were
her legs
drastic on
and
Nana.
yeah,
Nana's thighs
yeah.
were both my legs put together.
Dude, and then Mirko was basically just Chun-Li straight up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then this one seems more like
Shoulders and
she's
biceps.
shoulders and biceps.
Yeah,
Like if you zoom in on the tiny part where she's standing,
sure.
she's got like some like pretty solid legs, but doesn't seem to be like the focus of her character or anything
Right,
like
right,
that.
right.
And I mean, she might be like early Deku, where she's like, "Oh, I idolize All Might. I'm going to focus my attacks with my fists."
Yeah,
You
let's
know,
go.
so like I
Yeah,
kind of want to
I'm
see,
positive she's a brawler,
dude.
bruiser
She has to
type.
be.
She's
She
gonna
has
jaw
to
you.
be.
Yeah, absolutely. She's probably got the same techniques as All Might, bro. You know what I mean? Like she probably doesn't have one for all, but still, like I bet you she's still gonna be hitting you with Rhode Island smash. You know what I'm saying? Minneapolis smash. Let's get it. I think it's time.
Dude,
I think
oh,
it's
was it like
time.
dude, she has like the capital combo and just like starts just yelling the names of like state
Yo,
capitals as
the
she like just the capital combo breaker.
Yo, capital combo would be insane, like a jet Gatling, but you
Las
know,
Vegas Lariat.
yeah.
Dude,
Minneapolis. I don't know the M word for it,
I don't
but
know.
I want a Minneapolis named attack though. Like it's time. We're
Yeah.
here. I think it's just only fair that we just go through all the states between Deku, All Might, and Star and Stripe. Just give it to us. Let me get the panel. Let me have my celebration. Been talking about it
Oh,
for
dude,
years.
I want to see this moment where like she and Deku do the same state and they look nothing alike. And they just look at each other like,
Ooh.
"Hey,
Hey,
wait a second.
hold on.
Hey,
And then
wait."
All Might, like, in his final fights, like, let me show you how to do this. Like, yo, that'd be crazy.
Dude, it'd be interesting if I kind of want to see if Deku ever achieves like an All Might level physique. But he is
Yeah.
like 14,
That's
so
like the
like
biggest question, I think, for me is like the metamorphose aspect of, you know, All Might's situation versus Deku's. You know what I mean? Because we know that All Might's like skinny form I don't think is his original form either. Because
No,
like we've
it's
seen him
his
in like
like
high school and he's like he's like in pretty good shape, you know what I mean? Like when he's younger or whatever, you know what I
dude,
mean? So
he's a fine looking young man.
yeah, and I know that he like
Strapping young
I
lad.
know he attributed it to like, bodybuilders flexing and like making themselves like look bigger than they are or
But like
whatever
he
is
was
like
pretty big even when he wasn't
yeah, like
flexing.
I feel like there's a
Um
lot of mystery still surrounding that and we need a
oh
better
yeah.
explanation. Yeah.
Like if Deku is able to pull off 100% of All for One and embody it, does he just morph into something similar
Mm,
to All Might? Like I really want to see that personally.
yeah.
But I do like him being his own person, so like I understand if they don't go through that because like Hori does take that into account. Like
Yeah.
one of the main points of this series was like you are not All Might.
Right.
You are your own person and you
That's
should
right.
be a hero to others and also to yourself. Be your own hero.
I think he can still get
Um
swole though. You know what I mean? Like
oh,
if we yeah, and
he's gonna be
I know we
jacked.
only have 3 days left before we, go into this, so I'm not like expecting like another time skip or anything. But like if there
Hmm.
is gonna be another time skip in My Hero Academia at some point, I can totally see, another intense training montage, you know what I mean,
Hmm.
inside of all of our protagonists or
Uh
whatever. And yeah, if we could see a buffer Midoriya before the end of the series for one reason or another. So
I think that eventually the physical body that we designate as All for One will die in the final at least
oh, you
in
mean one for all?
this.
Talking about like
Yeah,
All
like
Might? Yeah, yeah.
no.
Oh, for
All
actual
for
okay, for
One,
All for One.
AFO.
My bad.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
our Darth Vader potato head.
Yeah.
Like I think he's gonna like his body is gonna be destroyed. I think
Sure.
that his physical form will die, and he will be left as almost like a Voldemort-like quirk ghost.
Mm.
Um, within Shigaraki, and then he has to fight Shigaraki and push Shigaraki to like be the proper vessel. Because like, yeah, he can be the proper vessel, but I want the old Husk to die really badly.
Yeah, I think
Um,
we'll see that.
because like they're always talking is like, oh man, our first final clash,
Yeah.
ruined my body even without regeneration. He's doing that Hannibal Lecter guy, that one guy from Hannibal Lecter where his face is all eaten up.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And like he's doing that monologue at like All Might, and I was just like, yeah, this is the vibe I'm getting from you. All
Yeah,
right. Like
let's see
I'm
it.
waiting for his body to die. Like
Yeah, me too. I'm
and
ready.
then
I'm ready
people will
for him to just
celebrate.
die, period.
I'm waiting for him, like people to celebrate, and it's gonna be way too soon.
Yeah,
And the government's gonna have to do the decision. Like, do we tell people that the threat isn't actually over, even though you have a visible body
right.
of the big bad? And I want to see what they do.
Yes. Yes.
Oh
Me too, man.
man, this is a brutal chapter. It gives a lot to think about. Like, I love Stain.
Me
He's
too.
he's
Oh,
so good. He's
he
so
is so
good
good.
at being bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's a
Top five
perfect.
character right there.
He's absolutely one of my favorites. He's a fantastic anti-hero.
Hmm.
I like the definitive explanation for how All for One works and how the vestiges work,
Yes.
which was really needed because at this point we were like, so much of the plot hinges on this battle between All for One and One for All that it had to be done.
Yeah,
So
you
I'm
have
glad
to
they
like
took. I
give the
think this was the
delineation. Yeah.
perfect time to like word vomit and like lay
Yeah.
down the law. Like 8 and 9 is almost equal parts picture and
Text.
text, and I
Yeah.
was just like, you know what? That's fair.
Yeah.
But this next one's gonna be awesome, and I want to see how foreign heroes will struggle with adapting to the even wilder culture that is the no man's land of Japan.
Yeah, for real. Yeah.
Like already culture shock, but kick it up to 11. Let's go.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm super ready.
Hmm.
And with that 3 day time limit that they put on this after such a wordy chapter, I feel like it makes it feel a lot better too for people that are afraid of words, which is a lot of
Yeah,
Twitter apparently.
it's funny because it's mostly words.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but it's like I eat this kind of shit up, dude. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's like give me all the words. You know what I mean? Like whatever. I don't like to necessarily be spoon fed information, but like when it makes sense to for
Yeah.
exposition dumps, I'm like all the way here for it. You know what I mean?
And
So
like Hori tends to do exposition dump, and then he just focuses back on action until you forget that he ever did an exposition dump.
right, right,
Like that's just been the theme that I've picked up on him.
yeah. Got great
And
balance, great
yeah.
composition, great
hmm
flow for his story.
So now that we've had this, it's gonna hit the ground running.
Yeah, I think so too. Do you have anything else for Hero this week?
Oh, I'm spent.
All right, that'll do it. Okay, final chapter of the night, Piece de Resistance, One Piece Wa, chapter 2000, or I'm sorry, 1027. Danger Beyond Imagining. Love this cover. Love seeing Roger whenever he feels like Luffy, because I feel like Roger kind of has like two modes, Pirate King mode and then Luffy mode, you know what I mean, which is
Yeah, where he's just dicking around.
which is, you know, essentially synonymous, you know, like with one another at this point, at least for me. But it's just cool to see him in a more, you know, jovial, playful kind of aesthetic, you know, to his imagery, instead of the more commanding, ominous, you know what I mean, enigmatic, you know, kind of way that he's shown a lot more of the time. But yeah, like keep giving me all of the parallels, keep making it make more sense, you know, that Luffy basically is this guy. I just love seeing shit like that.
Mm-hmm.
Look at this, like look at this
Dude,
lion
it's
he
just
puts
fun.
makeup on, like that's so fun. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like Roger gleefully running from a lion whose face he scribbled on.
Yeah.
And then I like if you zoom in, you get Shanks and Buggy climbing up a tree because they're running away from the fucking lion.
Yeah.
They're like, oh.
Or Buggy's definitely running up a tree. I think Shanks is just chilling. Yeah.
Chilling.
Yeah, I think he's
he
just chilling, enjoy like.
It looks like he's rubbing his eyes. Maybe he's
Oh,
laughing
I
too
thought he
hard.
was eating something. Yeah, he's either. Yeah, I don't really see too much of like a.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe he is scared and ran up the tree, and Buggy's scared too. And then
I mean,
Roger's like,
they
"What are
are
you guys
kids."
scared of? I'm about to clown this lion." Yeah.
I like that he wrote dog on the giant cat.
Oh, Inu, I see it now. Ha!
Yeah.
Hilarious. That's funny.
Man, it's a really, I like the wholesome like aspects of One Piece on that.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, getting into the chapter though, I kind of want to just like fast forward right away to this line of dialogue where Yamato is on chapter 8 or on page 8, where she's talking about, you know, Kaido's weakening, you know what I mean, like his he said Kaido's power, or Kaido's power is weakening, and that's making flame clouds unstable. They're not able to support the rock, and it's cracking and falling away. Now Kaido visibly has blood running from his forehead, and we know that he's taken damage, you know what I mean, but he doesn't seem to, at least to me, he doesn't really seem to have taken a whole lot of damage throughout the course of this raid. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, damage has definitely been dealt, but I mean, like, he doesn't really seem like he's ever been in a not so favorable position in combat. You know what I mean? He lets people get their licks in, and then he turns up and then gets them out of there. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's
like,
been
he let
very
Yamato attack him once, and then he's just like, and
right.
Thunder Bagua.
Right, and even though, you know, he and Yamato had their clash, you know what I mean, and Yamato got licks in, Kaido was still on, like, you know, the more advantageous foot in their exchange, I want to say. And then Luffy versus Kaido round 1 was very Luffy in his bag a little bit, and then Kaido being like, holy shit, where'd this come from, but then still whooping him, you know what I mean? So
yeah, he's always been dominant.
Yeah, he's always been dominant, you know, but like clearly,
it's good foreshadowing, though.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying, because Yamato's like, man, like, you know, like his power is weakening, and if it is, it's showing the effect on his mental state that the fight has kind of been having. So it's kind of like subtly setting up, even though he's very dominant physically, mentally, we've gotten a lot of really subtle cues that his mental state has a lot to do with how effective he's going to be in this fight. So even though the power is kind of overwhelming on Kaido's side, and a lot of people still don't think that Luffy should be able to beat him, it's like they're doing a really good job of not being too blatant about it, but letting you know almost between the lines, like, Kaido is kind of losing, you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, the scabbard rush in the initial raid, Luffy's reinvigorated, you know, Conqueror's Haki awakening exchange, you know what I mean? He's like, holy shit, these are so many things that are happening outside of my expectations that original like me, old me Kaido, like like the way he's thinking, like I should be able to handle all of this, you know what I mean, because I'm Kaido, but they're still getting past that, you know what I mean, and they're still
Mhm.
being effective, you know what I mean. He might not be outwardly verbally saying like holy shit, these guys are getting me, but like you can see it over the course of this very
Yeah.
long raid that he is on the decline, you know what I mean. So I think this slaps harder than if you just threw in the, you know, the plot device suddenly, like they're fighting
Yeah.
and all of a sudden the tide shifts because Kaido's like, oh, I'm so sad, PTSD, mental state, depression, and all like
Yeah.
at a time it would feel hand wavy and bogus, you know what I mean. So they're subtly,
Mm.
slowly giving you this decline of Kaido, you know, throughout the course of this arc, and I just love the way it's
His
being handled.
confidence is waning.
Exactly,
Um,
exactly.
because like I like how easily distracted he was with
Hmm.
Omomo in the first chapter,
Hmm.
the previous chapter where he got bit, and he's just like,
Yes.
"Hey man, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
And then also like he's disappointed and like feels disrespected by Yamato, turning on him, and he's like, "Ugh, you know, why can't children just listen to
Yeah.
me?" He's getting frustrated. He's just like, "Why are all these children fighting me?"
Right.
Um, and
And why are they
he's
kind of doing it well? Yeah.
yeah, it's like how come I can't put them down like I always have? And
Yes.
like when you zoom in to like Kaido at like page 3 or page 4,
Yeah.
or even page 8, any zoom in on his face, he's no longer smiling, he's no
He's
longer a
not
neutral
having a very
position.
good time
he
anymore.
he's
Yeah.
visibly upset, and
Yeah.
he's also like in the pages 6, 7, and 4 and 5, he's trying to get at Momo. He's just like, wait, I need to get this kid, I need to
Yeah.
get this kid, I need to get this kid. He's very distracted, and distracted to the point that Luffy was able to wrap out his like bungee arms
Legs.
multiple times, bungee legs multiple
Yeah.
times around his neck, and he's just like Kaido, if he was on point and like focused, he
Probably
would
would
have
have
never let
ducked
that
that.
happen.
Yeah, 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 or something like that. And I'd
Or
love to
like
see Luffy like back in his versatile, you know, gum gum
his
fruit
goofy shit,
application.
yeah.
Yeah, back on his Luffy shit, you know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of the time that we see Luffy in combat, it's always related to some kind of impact based attack, you know,
Yeah.
especially in the higher octane, higher stress, you know, higher stakes kind of situations. He's literally just rocking your shit, you know what I mean, inside of a specific gear or whatever.
Hmm.
But like it's cool to see him back on like his crowd control, distraction, choke you out, you know, like wrap his
Hmm.
body around you type shit. I just love when Oda gives him that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's underutilized, and I think
Yeah,
it's good to have that kind of return to the roots.
right.
Um, and like along with the parallel, like I like that they used Go Roger on the front page,
Hmm.
because the next following pages they reinforce the like parallels, because Luffy has a coat not as fancy as Rogers, but
Right.
similar
But
enough.
very
Like
captainy
yes, same
or very
same
pirate
high
kingy.
collar,
Yeah,
very same high collar, long coat, and then they're talking like when Roger and Whitebeard met in combat, the heavens split the sky, and so
yeah.
like I like that Kaido is basically Whitebeard
To
in
Luffy.
this
Yeah,
in this contrast where
sure.
because like Whitebeard was the massive guy, and
Right.
then
And Roger was
and
smaller. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
was smaller with the coat, and I like that they split the sky and had that moment. Like this is great
Yes.
parallels. um I liked that Yamato realized that I thought I blocked it but doesn't even come close, and this is her realizing that there might be something more to just physical attacks. Like I think this is her like reintroduction to like what hockey might actually be,
Hmm.
because I don't know if they've ever had it. um
Yeah. Well, you're talking like the origin of hockey.
Or like I don't know if Yamato's ever used hockey.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's had lightning, you know, black hockey lightning coming off his shit like in the exchange with Kaido like pretty much the whole time.
Hmm.
Like hockey's
Okay.
definitely been present, you
Cool.
know, in all of their attacks, I want to say almost.
Dude, I like Kaido's like hybrid form the
Yeah, it's
best.
so good.
It's just so visceral.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, like he is so monstrous
Mhm.
for having a human face. And
Yeah,
it's just like it's just really good. I
yeah.
like it. He's just a hulking, terrifying creature.
Going back to
Um,
4 and 5 real quick, actually, because I literally
mhm.
just came back. I just saw the panel where Momonosuke is asking for help from Kiku and Kinemon, and that was a really powerful moment for me, obviously, because
Mhm.
I'm like a huge subscriber, to the idea that the scabbards have been, pretty well fleshed out and developed and as characters that you're supposed to care about in this arc. A lot of people think that the flashback scabbard storytelling kind of fell kind of flat. You know what I mean? But I also don't think that Oda tries to do everything, for characters inside of their flashbacks if they're still alive. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because it's like Odin, Mont Blanc, Norlin, yeah, give us, their whole story because they're dead
They
now, you
dead.
know what
They're
I
not
mean?
coming back.
And you could still, go back and give us more, of that kind of stuff later or whatever, but usually the flashbacks for dead characters feel really complete, comprehensive, whatever. But inside of the scabbards, their story doesn't end inside of that flashback. So naturally you have to continue to keep giving them development and progression outside of that. And maybe, we should have cared about them a little bit more coming out of the flashback. I don't know. The argument isn't really all that interesting to me anymore at this point. But in moments like these where you can really see how much these characters mean to each other, to the point where Momonosuke is in probably his most stressful situation of his entire
He's
life. And
crying.
he's crying, thinking, and trying to pull strength from, Kiku
His
and
bonds.
Kanemon's, like it does so much more for the characters of the scabbards when you get little moments like these throughout the course of the rest of the arc. Whereas a lot of people are like coming out of the
Yeah.
flashback, like that's it.
Well, I
I don't
mean,
care about these characters at all. You know what I mean? It's like, well,
well, that's the point. Like,
yeah,
isn't it like those characters are not for you.
right,
Those
sure,
characters are for Momo, right?
sure,
Like you said it yourself, it's like it's Momo who's drawing this strength from these people. And
yeah,
so like to do Momo justice, you have to touch upon his emotional anchors at least a little
yes,
bit. So like I get why people are like, "Oh, this doesn't really like play into the story." But like it's not Luffy's A plot. This is Momo's B plot.
sure,
Okay, like this is that was the ground layering for Momo. But like with all everything else going on, I understand why people weren't like super fans of it.
right,
I don't care.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like
for sure,
I appreciate emotional investment in
yes,
my characters.
absolutely,
I really appreciate authors who take the time to cultivate that too.
right.
So like,
And Oda does take his time, and it's like it's a war kind of situation. This is a really big arc with a lot of moving parts and a lot of players on the board. So you can't give everybody that means something, the amount of spotlight that you might be expecting, you know what I mean? Like at least not blatant, you know what I mean? So like you get them in the flashback and then like throughout the course of the rest of the raid, we're getting more characterization, more development, growth, development for everybody, involved. And I feel like throughout the course of this fight, I've naturally just started caring more about the scabbards than I originally did. You know
yeah.
what I mean? Because that's just the way that Oda wanted to go about it. Give you a bunch of them, give you a bunch of information for them during the Odin flashback, and then keep splashing more and more reasons to care about these characters and notice their relevance in the overarching narrative of the arc through the conflict, thereafter that flashback. So I just
Hmm.
I appreciate it. You know what I mean? It shows the experience of the writer inside of Oda, because he knows how big his
Hmm.
canvas is, he knows how much time he has, and he knows how to deliver as potent of storytelling as he can inside of those limits. You know what I mean? And we see it. Like
Absolutely, because like if people are like, "Oh, well, I don't like the short flashbacks." If you want a flashback for every single character, okay, we're gonna be in Onigashima chapter 2005. Okay,
yeah,
like,
yeah, for
come
real.
on, human limits. Let's
Right,
go.
right.
I really like the realization that those like very aesthetic clouds actually served a function in keeping the whole thing floating. And I
Yeah.
love that the dragons can form clouds and like climb upon them.
Yes.
Like I love that because like I always wondered, it's like, how does a noodly Chinese dragon actually fly?
Yeah, Sky Noodle's
Because
gotta have, some
yeah,
kind of
they got no
propulsion.
wings.
Yeah, yeah.
Are
They
they
just
farting the whole time? Like I don't know.
well, we've seen this though, because when Momonosuke and Punk Hazard originally ate the fruit and turned into a dragon for the first time, he stepped on clouds to get Luffy up to a certain level after he like fell into like the hole of doom that, you know, Caesar kind of like shoved him down or whatever. And then him and, you know, that was like their first kind of like real moment, was Momonosuke going dragon form and getting him out of that sinkhole or whatever the fuck it was. So he has already grabbed the air before, but yeah, rehashing that, it almost seems like Momonosuke like just outright forgot that that was a skill that he had. You know, because it seems like this is like definitely his first time doing it in this chapter, but I know he did in Punk Hazard when he first acquired the ability. So
I mean, do you think that the kid possibly like repressed how crazy and traumatic that
because
thing was?
he's just so scared of the power or something? Yeah, maybe.
He like is like, because like I don't know, because like
So reminiscent to Kaido, maybe
having a lot of like sudden changes to your body, whether it is good or bad, is still going to be a traumatic experience, a stressful experience, because stress is neither good nor bad. It is a response to change.
Yes.
And like if you have a sufficient amount of stress, you know, it will be traumatic. The brain will forget. The kid's 8. Like, I don't know 8-year-olds that remember a lot of stuff anyway. So
right.
They're like, hey, you did this. Did I?
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that's a great
sure,
point,
man.
too. Yeah.
You know, it's like he is a kid, and like having a lot of physical changes and a lot of like time displacement and war is probably very distracting. I like Yamato calling him out. It's like, hey man, we can't tell anybody about this. We need to go save the day by ourselves. We need to do it. It's us. I forgot about all the stockpiled weapons in the Flower Capital, and turning that into, hey, you know, if this, it's like a gun, right? Like if the capital is a bullet, the hammer is Onigashima.
Right.
And it's just like, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
dude.
a great stakes. Like,
oh yeah,
they're like, oh yeah, because like crushing it, oh that's bad, but like I don't know, maybe
blowing it up though.
there's other towns, and they're like, no, if you blow it up, this entire country is going to hell.
It's
and I'm like,
with.
all right, that's those stakes escalated for me personally.
This is a floating nuke essentially.
Yeah, congratulations, you are a megaton.
Yeah. I love this fight with King and Zoro, man. Finally seeing Zoro, you know, like get some like real focus in his 1v1 here, and King is just so overwhelmingly powerful. We see what seems to be a hybrid form for King on 12 and 13, especially at the bottom of 12. He's got no arms, but is still humanoid. So he like just his
he transitions his arm into wings and just like waves them around to slice things up,
which is super fucking cool. It's like even though he is a swordsman naturally, when he's in human form, can fight you with a sword. When he goes into hybrid form, wings are effectively swords. It still makes sense inside of the conflict. So that's fire.
I like it.
Overwhelmingly powerful, just throwing Zoro across the battlefield. I love how he runs into Frankie. Frankie's like, huh? Catches him. He's like, you all right? You want to jump this man? You know, like, we could beat his ass together. You know, Frankie's just always like down to jump somebody.
Sticking out of my shoulders. Let's go, man. He's like, no, I want to do this. All right.
He's like, all right, I'm just letting you know, I'm still Frankie House Frankie out here. You know what I'm saying? I will jump a motherfucker with you. Like, we can double team this man. No shame. And Zoro's like, nah, you know I gotta fight him myself, bro. But thank you.
And, and I do like the contrast too, because like, hey, you good? I want to finish this fight on my own. All right, fine. And then next page, damn it, King, knock it off with the chaotic attacks. You sliced my butt. I wish I'd sliced your neck. What?
Yeah, and it's like, okay, all right. Well, this is the difference in interactions between crewmates, I guess. You know what I mean? You have to establish that difference.
Yeah, no, I really like that. And also, like, King, like, did even say, he's like, nah, I'm not really a swordsman. You don't need a sword to kill everybody.
Right.
But I can do it. I just prefer it.
Right.
And it's just like, all right.
Yeah, and then that's like super reinforced again on the last chapter, or on the last page of the chapter, where Zoro's like, at least let me die by the sword, bro. You hit me with these wings. You know what I'm saying? And you try to kill me by like throwing me off the side of the fucking battlefield or whatever. It's like, nah, kill me with your sword or something, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Don't
your sword's been fighting
don't
you
let
here.
gravity do the work.
Yeah, she's like, show a little respect. And he's like, well, I'd ask the same of you. I don't give a fuck about none of that honor and swordsmanship shit, but like, don't slice my fucking mask off then. How about?
Don't
Because I
touch
don't want,
my
yeah, I
face.
don't want nobody to see this shit. So I'll kill you with a
Um,
sword. You leave my mask alone, whatever, type shit. So that's cool.
I wonder why he's so adamant about it, and it got me thinking. Really,
Yeah.
I think it is because he, being like Vegapunk's son or test subject, um, he didn't really get to have an identity of his own as his like unmasked form, right? Like he always felt like that was his father's creation,
Wait, you're talking
right?
about King right now?
King, right? Like he
Vegapunk's son?
Oh no, he's one of. I thought he was one of the test subjects because like
Oh,
Lunarian or something like
oh,
that.
sure. I can't
Because
remember
he's
any
like
of that right
he's
now. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Same. I'm not like One Piece. I'm not very good at
Right,
sometimes.
right, right.
Um, but I felt like because he was like it seemed like he was one of the test subjects, and he seemed to like recognize Sanji for some reason.
Oh, sure.
And I thought he might be like one of Vegapunk's like test tube children,
Okay.
because he could like that because he had like the Lunarian thing, and he's just
Yeah.
like, hey, how come you can burn? And he's like, it's my passion. He's like, I don't buy that.
All right.
I think you're like me,
Yeah, I think you're
and
modified, bro.
I think he's a modified guy. He's a Vegapunk creation,
Yeah, that
and
makes a lot
so
of sense.
having a mask is his way of asserting his own identity beyond being a test subject, and that's why it's so
Oh,
important to him.
that's
That's why
cool.
it's so important to him. He's like, no, 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 you don't understand. I am the mask. The part underneath, no, that's the experiment. That's not me.
Yes.
That was always somebody else's thing. I
Yeah.
am not that. I am
I'm
king. You
king.
know,
Love
you
it.
know,
Put it on
you
a
know.
t-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
beautiful.
yeah,
Oh, and I love this.
that's
I
kind of
love
what I'm
this.
taking from him.
I love the Zoro jet propulsion that we kind of get inside of this two sword style clear lance technique, where he like basically takes the force of him sending an outward slash, because he can like send his slashes flying. He's got long
Hmm.
range. Sanju Rook pound the hole like type shit. You know what I mean? So he's
Yeah.
got like that going on, and it's cool to see like as he's fighting someone who kind of like operates the best in the air, to see that he has like a kind of way to compensate for his lack of an ability to fly. You know what I mean? Like I could
Yeah.
just hit the air in this direction, in a way that can kind
Two
of shoot
sword
me the other
style
direction.
clearance.
Yeah, clear
I like
lance,
he finally
clearance. Yeah.
got. I
Yeah.
like that he finally got like. He's basically like a mantis shrimp, where he's just like, I slice things so fast. I just go, yeah.
Yeah, like pew, you know what I mean? Like get me back to the stage, you know what I mean? Keep me from falling over. That was really cool to
Congratulations.
see.
This
It
is why
makes a
a
lot of
sword guy
sense.
gets double jumps.
Yeah, yeah, for real. Like I just love it. I think it makes all the sense in the world for his character. A lot of people that I talk to about Zoro and his fighting style, like when it comes to aerial, enemies, he's obviously at quite a disadvantage. He needs Trampolia to cut off the head of the dragon in Punk Hazard. Needed Usopp's help for that. You know what I mean? Had to bounce on the Trampolia plant. You know what I mean, to get the distance that he needed. So seeing him kind of have answers of his own for any kind of situation, even though he does need help most of the time when it's more practical to just get help. But like when it's just him solo dolo, he's got options too. That's awesome. You know what I mean? And
I
they make
want
sense.
him.
So
I want him to do because he has a three sword style. I really want him to do kind of like a twister tornado thing, like Meta Knight, right? Like
oh
doing the drill.
sure. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
it's more like a helicopter, like the helicopter guy, where he just like.
Yeah. Yeah. And now he does have like Sanzen Sekai and Daisen Sekai and shit, you know what I mean? Where the technique that he kind of uses against Mihawk in their first confrontation, his ultimate technique, his Ogi, where he like, basically turns his swords into propellers as he strikes you. He hasn't really flown with it, I don't think. I mean, he fought King, or not King, but Pika in Dressrosa, but he got launched, you know what I mean, by, I can't even remember who, but someone got him in the air, and then he went into Daisen Sekai, and so you kind of saw a little bit of that, but it wasn't like all his own propulsion, you know what I mean? So that would
Yeah.
be cool to see like a Meta Knight style, attack from him at some point in the series. I think would be really fucking cool now that you mention it, but I'm
Mhm.
happy with this right now. You know what I mean? Like this is
I'm really
awesome.
happy that he gets his final double jumps.
Yeah, for real, for
He's
real.
just like, I need to go this way. I do not want to fall to death.
Yeah. Yeah, man, big chapter for action. Can't wait to for the continuation. Obviously, I hope we get like a very Sanji heavy chapter next time, just so that we
Oh
can see
yeah,
what's up with King and with Queen and Sanji. Throw the raid
let's
suit
go
back on,
Blackleg.
get it cracking for real. Yeah, absolutely. This is going, the way that is expected, and also like the way that I've been wanting it to. So I
Mhm.
am loving One Piece right now.
I'm imagining that Queen will try to interview with Zoro again, and Frankie's just like, no, no, no. He said he didn't want to fight with any help fighting, so
Right.
you can't do that either. I
Yeah.
need to.
Yeah.
I want him to show off a little
Frankie's
bit.
fight is done, yeah. So if he just kind of acts as like a you don't get to interfere over here or over here with your sneaky underhanded like shit, like that'd be cool too for his role to
Bro,
just
I'm
be
the
like,
ref.
yeah,
Oh,
like a
you're saying
mediator.
enhanced? That's
Yeah,
cute.
yeah,
Cola Buster.
yeah. Cola Buster. Oh shit, gone. Fuck
Yeah,
yeah,
dude.
love it. Love everything about it. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about One Piece this week?
Nice fun chapter. I thought the Momo like learning about his powers and learning about Kaido's clouds was really cool. He's
Yeah,
just like, it's not the same, and he's like, don't worry, it's a cloud. Don't get it twisted.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
fine.
yeah, yeah.
We gotta do stuff.
For sure. Very
Um,
straightforward chapter though. Very, clear exactly what's going on everywhere. At least I didn't notice any like really big, One Piece keywords or like subtle like between the lines shit that like you can definitely see in any of these chapters at any point in time. This one felt very straightforward. So,
yeah. Something I
yeah.
noticed when someone was talking to me on the internet,
Yeah.
uh, on page 6, they're like Yamao, which is like a cuter version of saying Yamato.
Yeah.
I know you want to take this one for yourself, don't you? And he just does like the monkey grin and goes,
Yeah.
yeah. And someone's like, ooh, this means Yamao's gonna come with them on the ship. They're gonna be the next crewmate. And I'm like,
Ooh.
maybe, I don't know. Like,
I'd love
it's
it.
just like it's a nice thing because like um I think it would be really interesting
Yeah.
because
Me
it's been a
too.
while since they've had a new crewmate.
Right.
Um, and having Yamato would be really interesting because then like it at like not to say that like the Straw Hat Pirates aren't legitimate, they have massive bounties already.
Yeah.
But having Kaido's own child
Yeah.
join your crew after they defeated their father seems
Massive
like a massive like infusion of like respect and like
fear.
it, it ups the level. It
Yeah.
ups the
It ups
level on
everything a million times. Yeah,
so
for sure.
I feel like they should I would like them to be
And you
on
need those big name family members, or just like, well, maybe not big name family members, I guess. You have, Vince Smoke Sanji, and then you have Luffy, Garp, and Dragon. You know what I mean? Like, and then you have Frankie, who's like clearly tied to Vegapunk in some kind of way. And if not, tied to Tom, who built the Oro Jackson. You know what I mean? Like, you got Robin and her family and O'Hara with Saul and everything. Like, everyone's got these like really important family members, to the overarching narrative of One
yeah.
Piece. You got Usopp and Yasop, you know what I mean? Like all of that shit, like it just makes sense that that Yamato, if he did join the crew, I think it makes a lot of sense just considering their power, what they mean to the end of the story potentially, um, and just the connection to Kaido. Like it all fits. It all makes sense to me. So
It's, a vestige of the old generation forging the
yes.
path of the new generation. Like
Mhm.
I think that's always been the style of One Piece.
Right.
You know, this is the age of
Generational
Kaido's
shifts.
beginning. Yeah,
Yeah.
generational shifts. And like I really appreciate the way they're thinking because like they think like one of Luffy's crewmates, right? They're like, oh, you want to fight him by yourself. Okay, I get that. I cap that. Like, cool. Got it. Good. We're going. And then like the way they're interacting with Momo is like, hey man, we can't rely on Luffy for everything.
Right.
Jesus Christ, he's fighting Kaido. Like,
Right.
what do you want? Like, dude, like
Yeah.
we need to deal with this.
Yep.
So like to me, they already have a good mentality
Yeah.
to be a crewmate. They're already thinking as a team player and like understanding actively how Luffy operates
Yeah.
and how Luffy should have to like what he needs to do what he needs to do, that kind
For
of thing.
sure.
So like,
Absolutely.
I think I'm hoping that they are. That's my final thought.
Me too. I agree. And yeah, with that, I think that'll do it for One Piece and this episode of the Project Manga Podcast. Thank you all so much for watching. If you did, slap a like on the video if you enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. And yeah, while you're down there, check out our links. You'll find our link tree and other things that will allow you to follow us on social media accounts like Twitter, join our Discord, listen to Project Manga on Spotify or Apple Music, ways to support the Project Manga Podcast by checking out our online store or our Patreon. And once again, if you are in the market for a new top-of-the-line gaming computer, check out Artesian Builds. We got a promo code down in the description. That'll give you $200 off your rig. So peep game if you are in the market. But with all that said, oh yeah, and leave a bunch of comments down there for like any of the things that we addressed during the conversation. But with all that said, I think that'll do it for this episode of the Project Manga Podcast. Wrapping up, I'm your host, Knox.
Mellow Yanis.
We'll catch y'all next time.